What's good with y'all tonight? It's your man Donald King. Jiggling. I always gotta do a stupid tagline at the beginning, man. I don't know why. Sorry about getting started so late. I don't know how many of y'all gonna catch that. Given the amount of people who tune in at the times that I usually shoot. But today has been a little hectic. Running around, man, trying to make things happen, and before you know it, time gets away from you, and I got out on these roads at like 7, or shortly there before. I figured it'd be a quick run, but I had not anticipated the roads being as bad as they were. So, yeah, man, made it back here, getting a lot of things together. I got a lot of irons in the fire at the same time on multiple scales of playing, and just kind of managing things from the experiential vantage point. It can be rough. Last night I hung out with my brothers and sisters, my folks, my friends, celebrating my 45 years on this earth. Chilling. 45, my God. That's a lot of time, man. That's a lot of time. I'll be honest in saying this, growing up, especially when I had my narcissist phase, which was quite extensive, I had a very different idea of what my life would be at this point. I always figured that it's like I'd be able to bank on my talent and skills, and that someone was going to notice me and clear the path for me to make it to the top of the world so that I could assist them with all my greatness. And yeah, man, I swore that if anyone ever gave me a clean shot, especially when I was like really young and in my prime, I figured I could have owned a quarter of the world. Well, the kind of gifts that I guess this perspective imbues you with, if I was a grimy dude, it really wouldn't be that hard. But, that might actually be the theme of tonight. What does it mean to be ethical? What does it mean to be ethical? I'll probably have to go back and edit the let's just chop it up, what's on your mind bit. But ethics, that's a good subject. Ethics, what are ethics? Ethics are what you call it when a person has a sort of balanced ideal of the distribution of punishments and rewards, okay? So ethics is when you can sort of, and I'm reading principles here, so bear with me as I sort of figure out the language model. But ethics is what you call it when you're motivated towards interactions with others by a sort of fair outlook. What is fair in terms of the distribution of rewards? What is fair in terms of the distribution of punishment? And that sort of moral compass, it's sort of static, and it remains sort of balanced, mainline, And I guess that's a good way to describe it. When you're ethical, you're fair. When you're sort of narcissistic, you're going to think parasitically, and your idea of fairness is always going to be skewed by and according to self-interest. So, again, narcissism is the parasitic mind. The parasitic mind thinks in terms of consumption and selfishness. Selfishness being the inextricably tied to consumption. More for me, more for me, more for me. I desire more, I desire more. So when you're sort of a parasitic individual and or exploitively motivated towards life and others, then you're always thinking about how to live and benefit at the expense of others. Always thinking of how to take care of you first and take care of you most. When you are imbued with any sort of real talent, and I say real talent, not borrowed talent. I mean, when you're imbued with real talent, you're kind of, if you're an ethical person, and I mention that only because ethical people are generally the only talented people are generally ethical. All right, people who are not so talented, they may know a trick or two to exploit, but they're not motivated towards others by an ethical outlook on life. They're always thinking exploitively. But when you're talented, you're sort of required by reality itself to share what's inside of you. Your talent isn't yours. My talent isn't mine. And those who are genuinely talented, they tend to be generous with their gifts because regardless of how you view God and or what you want to call God, be it reality, the universe, or whatever, it only gives gifts to those who are proper stewards of them. Conversely, corruption, it gives people conditional gifts, right? It gives people conditional talent. You're okay in this lane. You're decent in this lane, but it isn't true talent. It's borrowed. You know what I'm saying? And I guess the reason why I even started thinking about ethics is because, me being in the lane that I'm in, I draw a lot of heat. There are a lot of small people out there who want to make me smaller than them. You see a lot of it play out on my page. You see a lot of people come to me with their anger and their animosity and their aggression, and they want to punish me for not being limited by into the agreements they made with themselves regarding my potential. They want to punish me for not being smaller than them. How to handle that sort of interaction? How to handle that sort of aggression, unwarranted aggression coming from people, notably people who you're kind and compassionate to. How to handle that? You can handle it by fighting fire with fire, or you can go the ethical route. And I guess I probably had to create a bigger frame for that. The ethical route when dealing with narcissists is to lead with compassion. And I mention this because people who are narcissistic, they're dealing with a lot of trauma. Like, again, the identity, the story we tell ourselves about the world around us and our place and value within it, it's a coping mechanism. It's something we erect around ourselves and cocoon ourselves within because we're afraid to face reality and the feeling of loneliness and the feeling of frailty, the feeling of ineptness, smallness, powerlessness. Like the identity, all the bravado and the chest thumping, it's more a cry for help than anything. You bring your aggression to me, then more than likely, I'm going to have to shake you up a bit to get your attention, but my goal is never to actually cause injury or suffering to anyone. I'm not exploitively natured in that way. Ethical way to deal with it is, and I'm not even saying that it's like I'm necessarily ethical in this way, but the ethical way to deal with it is like, it's the same way as dealing with, it's exactly the same as like dealing with a kid who is just throwing temper tantrums and lashing out and trying to hurt other people because they hurt, but they don't know how to face and deal with their pain. Should you want to go to them and just beat the shit out of them because they're being a little shit? Is that ethical? Or do you sit back and examine, ask deeper questions, and try and get to the problem, source and root of their trauma? In my view, the ethical thing to do is to try to understand the problem first before retaliating. I'm fortunate in that I have a fairly well-rounded perspective. My view and outlook on life is pretty balanced. I don't really suffer from scar tissue, from traumas that I've lived through. So I have sort of a balanced and weighted approach to interacting with people, and I'm fortunate in that way. But because I have that sort of distance and perspective, the ethical thing to do when interacting with people who are narcissistic and or addicted to self-idealizing is to empathize first. Try to solve the problem first. Why are you so scared? Why are you so shook? What about being in the presence of someone who's strong makes you feel weak? How do we make you strong? Most people come to me with competition, man. They come to me with a desire to compete against me and what I'm saying and what I represent. And I always try to help people understand it's never me who they're competing against. They're competing against what I represent and what tasks me to do and say the things that I do and say. When you take your anger and frustrations out on me, you're never taking them out on a man. You're taking them out on an entity performing through a man who doesn't stand for that shit. It's a lot of bad things that are going to come to people who can't get past their addiction to their inner story. Which takes me back to why I'm grateful. I'm grateful, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, not just for reaching 45 years, but more than anything for having transcended the ego. At least to a degree that it no longer controls everything. It no longer forces its will upon me and makes me do its bidding, and I'm not constantly in a state of terror and distress because I'm presented by things that dwarf my own ability and sense of power and potency. When you're a narcissist, man, everybody's an enemy or a potential enemy just waiting to present themselves, and you have to do all of this extra shit, all this chest thumping, all this rah-rahing, because you're more afraid of the mirror than you are of anything else. You're afraid of seeing your weakness, your frailty, your limitations. And anytime you come around someone who's strong, you have to try and knock them down. You have to try and attack and destroy them. Or conversely, you try to idealize and worship them until you're in a position to attack or destroy them. But it comes from a space of weakness. It comes from a space of cowardice. I hate cowardice. I don't hate cowards. I hate cowardice. You know why? Because cowardice is a practice. A coward is a person who practices being cowardly, but no person has to practice being cowardly. You can always choose to be brave. You can choose to stand in the presence of big people and see your own power, or beyond that, just appreciate and celebrate theirs. Ironically, in doing so, you find your power. By syncing up with reality, you find your true strengths, you find your true skill, your gifts. Barricading yourself in the identity, well, your gifts are limited by and to how you see yourself in relation to others. You sitting over here, you're trying to compete against this man on the piano. And it's you up against someone like Jose Molina on piano, and you're like, I have to beat him, and lo and behold, piano was never supposed to be an instrument. He was always supposed to be on the toms or on the guitar. When you're trying to compete against people, when you set your sight on beating someone, you necessarily limit your ability to find and capitalize on your own gifts. But this fear of not having enough, this fear of someone dwarfing your potential and the attention you feel you deserve, what does it do? It steers you away from truly developing your gifts, truly realizing your gifts and then developing them. Yeah, man. And I remember, again, when I was narcissistic, man, when I was really given to self-idealizing and the identity of Donald King had to be at the center of everything, here I am. Back then, it's like, I'm so-called genius. And I'm like, I see all these child prodigies who come along and they're doing things that dwarf my skills by like a country mile. And I'm like, see, if I just wasn't a foster kid and I was raised in an environment that helped me nurture my gifts, I could have done this and I could have done that. And yeah. I could have done this and I could have done that. And I'm sitting here and I'm mad. I used to be mad at the world because it's like I felt like I was cheated. And if only I had a leg up and all this other shit, man. And lo and behold, when I stopped living in the slave mind, when I stopped seeing everything as a competition to look important, I fall back in my lane and here I am, something that's different from what everyone else is. Not necessarily better, not necessarily worse, and I'm not even thinking in terms of better or worse because I'm in my own lane. I walk in my own lane. No fear, no cowardice. I don't need you to be small so I can feel big. I don't need to defeat you so that it's like the legacy of me can live. I just walk. There are a lot of days where, I'm hit with a lot of uncertainty, especially navigating through social circumstances now that I've sort of ascended beyond them. When you hit the enlightenment stage and you become this thing I purport to be, then, you're no longer, your social character dies. And the only thing you do is kind of like Weekend at Bernie's. You try to pick it up and try to use the corpse of who you were to make a way in the world, but to connect with people. But yeah, man, the identity of Donald King was destroyed by God itself. And after the flame of truth made me stand in it, and it burned away everything that wasn't real, this is what's left. Funny thing about it is I'm exponentially stronger than I was when I thought I was my strongest. Reasoning and honesty, man. Purging yourself of that need to consume and or to be the center of attention towards increasing your potential to consume. When you get rid of the slave mind, when you're no longer thinking like a slave, you by default become a master. I was talking to my bro the other day, man, and it's like, my dude, he's a legit alpha, right? He's a true alpha. The problem is, through the socialization process and through a lot of traumas that he's sort of endured through in life, he's picked up a lot of aggressive beta tendencies. The room bends around him effortlessly, but he ends up killing that by just trying to make the room recognize him and see him and yield to him. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. Like, you're doing a lot of extra work fall back, chill, and just notice how people naturally respond to you. You don't have to sell the story of you to everyone. You don't have to tell everybody about what you're doing here and why you're doing there. That's in dating. That's a big thing to do. You have to tell everybody all your moves. You have to tell everybody what you're doing, this and that and that. And you have to make everybody know that you're hustling and you're doing the work and all these other things. You don't have to sell the story. At the end of the day, if you're a true alpha, the room already bends to you. Aggressive betas are going to hate you. So long as they feel they can't control you. So long as they feel that you're more potent than them. That you can outdo them. And right now, the only reason why aggressive betas don't have a target on you is because a lot of the things that you're doing is right in theme with what they do. Self-promotion, the idealizing, the chest thumping, you don't need all that. You really got it in you, bro. It's like, I'm comfortable around big people. It's the small ones you got to worry about. Small ones who want to think that they're big. But yeah, man, this is how it goes. It's how it goes. I don't know. It's a lot. I don't always know. I to be honest with you and saying it's like being this thing that I purport to be, and I have to qualify it as such because it's like, again, I'm not trying to sell anybody. I don't want anybody to believe me. I'd much rather you use your reasoning and use your honesty and your intuition to figure out whether or not I'm telling the truth. But there's a lot of twists and turns with this. It doesn't come with an instruction manual. A lot of days I wake up wondering, what is happening? How is this supposed to go? I don't know, and I'm figuring it out on the fly, and I'm doing everything that I can to stay afloat in the craziest life circumstance that I could have ever imagined. Again, I had no idea that this was going to be my life. I always figured that I was going to be I'd be balling out right now just because it's like I had all these gifts, and I'm like, yo, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do this. I will rule the world. I can invent things on the fly. I can invent entire industries just because. Yeah. That's what I thought. Turns out it was borrowed talent the entire time, and comes from the entity within, but still. You could be the most talented person in the world and have no fucking clue of how shit is supposed to come to pass. You can have the greatest vision in the world and still not see 2 steps down the road. And somehow you have to make peace with it. And I guess it goes back to the point that I was making at the beginning of the video. I'm grateful because through losing my ego and or through my ego losing its stronghold over me, I learned how to deal with discomfort. I learned how to deal with uncertainty. I learned how to face just feeling insecure and just dealing with the struggles of not being in control of everything. And it's the greatest gift. You learn to adapt to reality in real time, as opposed to thinking that you're going to fix everything by, with, and through control. I learned that I wasn't in control of everything. And that the harder I try to control things and that the harder I try to control people was the less powerful I became. That's a hell of a life lesson, man. It's a hell of a life lesson, and I'm grateful for it. 45 years. So yeah, I'm wondering, is anybody out there? Anybody see this? Just a quick check-in if anybody's on board. I don't know if this is actually set up life. I thought that I got it. I got my whatchamacallit in, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, I'm shooting this late anyway. Also, I still had to go to the store and buy some nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast. I'm trying out some vegan, well, not trying out. I'm bringing back some vegan recipes I used to do back in the day. Yeah, man. Wild. Brother, absurd the word! I see you, bro. How you doing, man? My dog. I miss you, bro. I hopefully I make it back that way, man, before too long. I really love the Arizona area, man. It's fire. Man, it is wild. It's wild to think about. This last year has been insane. My life has gone completely flip upside down within less than a year. It's insane to think about. How does something like this happen? And I still had to keep my frame of reference. I had to keep my wit about me through all my own uncertainty and through all my own, worry for how to proceed forward in life. I have to be strong enough to deal with changes. And then be strong enough to show other people how to face and deal with change too. And I'm not complaining about that. I'm glad that I'm in a position to. It's just, it's inevitable, guys. You're going to lose control at some point in your life. You're going to lose control at some point in your life. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much muscle you build or how many fights you win. You're going to lose control of your body. You're going to lose control of your social circumstance. You're going to lose control over the things that grant you a sense of peace and security. It's much better to invest in becoming adaptive so that you can change with the inevitability of change. You build your body up. You put 20, 30 years into forming these muscles. Let everybody see the degree to which you can flex your pecs. Let everybody see all that work you put into your body. Years of your life, calorie counting and eating lean protein and exercising day in and day out, fixated on this image you've created of yourself. It's only going to fade as the years come and go. You're going to lose control of it. Spend all this time trying to build wealth and acquire the most resources so that you and yours are comfortable, and even if you make it out of this life wealthy, for all the damage you cause and contribute to, you necessarily face steep consequences on the other side of existence. But beyond that, who you gift your wealth to, it's only a matter of time before all that control you amassed and bequeathed to others is gone. It's better to live for adaptation. It's better to live for strengthening. When you adapt, you get strong. When you control, you get weak. Brother Absurd wrote, just listening at the moment, I was examining the point you made about your friend who the room bends around. I'm trying to analyze if I also display beta traits like, wow, all these people are giving me attention. How do I keep it getting more? That's a great question, bro. And I'm going to say it like this. To some degree, we're going to exhibit aggressive beta traits as a product of the socialization process. This is what the socialization process trains us to do. It trains us to constantly seek attention, constantly fight for and vie for attention. This is the slave mind. Society trains you to think like a slave, and if you think like a slave, you're like, me and mine first. Me first, me most. And regardless of who you are or how enlightened you become, to some degree, that ego, that parasitic mind is still going to be there. And it's going to say, hey, you desire more, you need more. The question is, do you practice listening to it? And when you do, are you honest about who you're listening to? I don't think that you have, I mean, I've hung out with you. You don't display aggressive beta tendencies to me. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Aggressive betas hate me. They hate the fuck out of me. They're scared. Only big people can be around me, man. Because I'm reflective. I'm an avatar. I'm reflective. I show you what's inside of you. I show you what's inside of you. And if you see me and you see me in a positive light and you're like, yo, this is my guy, this is my bro, it's only because you're comfortable with yourself. Aggressive betas are not comfortable with themselves. They need others to be small for them so that they don't feel threatened. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not even excluded from that as well. Every now and again, I have some beta tendencies. Every time I catch myself doing some beta shit, I get mad at myself. I'm like, motherfucker, you better tighten up, Don. Tighten up. Doing some weak shit, man. And I'm like, you're right, touche. I'm like, touche, yeah. That was some beta shit, Don. Oh, man. Man, apparently it's like, I'm wondering if I'm getting too thin on this vegan thing, man. I took a pic the other day, and it's like, I took it when I was in Indiana again. And it's like I was looking at my body, and I'm wondering if I'm looking like too skinny, man. I don't know. If I feel light. I feel light. I don't like feeling light. But then again, I'm getting older too, so I'm used to feeling like really dense and just going around and being like, like just powering through things. And now my body feels lighter, and I'm like, I don't know, man. It feels weird. But it is what it is. And regardless of how I feel in the moment, regardless of how I idealize myself in the moment, I'd be remiss to not acknowledge the fact that I'm healthy. I'm pretty strong. My frame of reference is intact. And all in all, I just operate from a space of gratitude. And I think that's one of the most important things that people should, I guess, glean from it all. When you're authentic, when you're strong, you have a tendency to operate from a sense of gratitude. When you operate from a sense of gratitude, it means that it's like you're mindful, you're cognizant of all the ways in which you're benefiting from reality. When you're cognizant of how you're benefiting from reality and others performing within reality, it means you must be observant. In order to be appreciative, you have to be observant for all the ways in which you should be appreciative. For all the things that give you that give to you so as to benefit and supplement your life, you have to observe these things. And not from an ideal state, from a literal state. Hey, man, shit, I'm full of food. Man, I'm not starving right now. I'm all right. I'm not dehydrated right now. I'm cool. I'm warm. Shit, I have means to get around. At least within the current frame, I have enough. You know, my grandma, she says, she likes to talk to me. My grandma, she be loving to chat at me. But she was like, you know, and I was telling her, I'm like, you know, Grandma, some days, man, I'm wondering how this is all going to play out. I mean, like, I'm cool once I'm out of this body, but I still got to make it to wherever reality says, okay, you're done. I still have to make it from here to that point. And I can't see 2 steps into the future, so And I'm not allowed to try and control things. I just show up. God provides the lane for me to walk in, and my job is to walk in the lane. But a lot of days there's some questions of, there's some uncertainty there. Hey, how does this work? How does this go? And my grandma is like, the Bible says, the master says, give us this, our daily bread. Give us our daily bread. If you know that you got everything coming to you tomorrow, maybe you don't appreciate everything you got today. If you're cognizant of reality, if you're cognizant of all the ways in which you're benefiting from reality, then maybe you can't be grateful for some assurance that you're taken care of for tomorrow, but you can most certainly be grateful for the fact that you're taken care of today. That's what I choose to focus on. And that view and perspective is unto itself one of the greatest gifts I've ever received. Yo, it's your man Donald King. We're about to go over here to the ticker. I might have to re-up on this, man. It's like this might be getting kind of played. Sorting and sourcing principles. In case I never explained that to you, sorting and sourcing principles. The reason why I put this here on my little ticker page is because, there are principles of viral, parasitic, and corrupt organization. There are principles belonging to this system, and then there are principles of natural organization and symbiosis and all these other things that belong to reality. Because of what I am, I can describe principles from both systems. However, humans have a tendency to sort of perceive these principles as being interwoven, and my job as Avatar is basically to say, nope, this principle goes in this category. This principle goes in this category. So it's just sort of like it's a sorting process. Hey, nope, this exploitation and competition and this sources to corruption, parasitism. Okay? And I have to get into natural competition at some point. What we call competition in nature, it isn't even competition. We'll get into that in a little. But, hey, you know what? You're working with balance and mutualism and love and true bonding and all these other things. Hey, this sources to nature. This sources to natural organization. That's what it boils down to, people. So, I'm obviously shooting this on Facebook Live. Shooting on Facebook Live. I am on Instagram. I'm on YouTube, for which I take all of these podcasts and upload them to the channel. And then also I am on Medium. I've written quite a few pieces over there. I think I have 110, but I have so many more that I could just fly over right now that are literally, I just write so much content. Jeez. I probably have to just spend a day just uploading pieces to Medium before too long. But it's like if you guys want to join in the Patreon family, I'm at Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13. You can also, if for whatever reason you get any sort of benefit from or have any sort of appreciation for what I'm doing in these podcasts, and you just want to bless your boy with a little love, you can always hit me up on Cash App at Donnie King. All proceeds go towards building this up to a larger platform. Again, what I'm trying to do is reach as many people as I can before I'm out of the show. And, anything that you can do to assist in that way, I think that it is in your best interest to, if for whatever reason or you can, or however, to whatever degree you can, help reality by proxy of the entity I'm hosting be heard. I think that I say that's a good look for you, not for me. But I don't want to get in on that. So anyway. But, Brother Absurd, I appreciate you for chiming in. I drink a ling. Man, I need to come up with some new catchphrases, man, or something like that, man. I don't know why I just be wilding, but it's like it's fun. I never take myself too seriously. I think people who take themselves too seriously, I think they're dangerous. Like if you was like you look at somebody like for instance, Trump or like Hitler or something like that. Like these people, they never laugh at themselves. They never like take responsibility for any of the wrongs that they've done. They're so afraid of taking hits to their identity that everything is seriously about making sure no one is taking a shot at them or that no one is diminishing or devaluing their character. I don't mind being laughed at. I don't mind laughing at myself. I think that's a sign of a healthy mind. If you can find reasons and ways to show why you are just as ridiculous as everyone around you, it's a sign that your mind is healthy. It's a sign that your mind is healthy. I wrote a song the other day, and it was a hood rat song. Well, not a hood rat song. It's called Panty Dropper. Just why? Just because it just popped in my brain, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. And it's fucking fire. I love it. It's amazing, and I can't stop singing it. That's my only problem. But I'm not sitting here trying to be like all zen on the side of a mountain, like, my child, namaste. No. That's faking. That's not being authentic. It's not being real. We're people. All of us. Even those of us hosting entities. We shit, we stink, we bleed. We try to make sense of this crazy world via these characters that were bequeathed to us by our formative environments. And most of us are just trying to survive. Most of us are dealing with trauma. Most of us are dealing with loss. Most of us are dealing with unfulfillment. To pretend that these things aren't real, to not acknowledge that these things are part of our experience, it's disingenuous. You can't be disingenuous and honest. That's why you see me curse. It's why you see me when I'm less than perfect. It's why you don't see me post 1 million selfies. I let people see me in real time. This is how I'm flawed. This is how I'm less than ideal by your standards. Can't hide behind the social character forever. Reality won't let you. It's your man, Donald King. I'm out.